Welcome to Feeling Asian, a podcast where two Asians talk about their feelings. I'm Youngmi Mayer.
And I'm Brian Park. And if you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you already know what to expect because we have a return guest, Youngmi.
Woo! A return guest. One of our fan favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've had a handful of return guests, but you know on SNL, they do the 5-timers club. Feeling Asian 2-timer club is basically the same thing.
What are we going to do for the 5-timers club? The 5-timers, you're going to get a robe and a cigar. I think.
You're going to get a robe, cigar, and we're going to update our album cover so that you're on it too.
Yeah, it's going to be a kimono, though. It's going to be an Asian robe.
But yeah, you know, let's just introduce them to the pod so we can shoot the shit right up top. Listeners, your guest this week is, as we mentioned, a return guest. Give it up for hip-hop artist, musical artist extraordinaire, Bohan Phoenix.
Thank you. Shout out to y'all. It's so good to be back. I'm definitely going to be a 5-timer.
Yeah,
for sure.
I can't wait.
Technically, this is the 3rd time, right? Including the in-person show.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
you were.
Hey,
wow. Okay,
It was a
so
live show.
You're a front runner right out the gates.
Come on, let's go.
Well, the listeners don't have access to that because that was live, but you did do our live
That's
show and you performed and you did comedy, which is very brave, I feel like.
That
for a
improv
musician.
that improv part, oh my God. I thank God I was going last. And that thing had me tight. I was sitting there like, oh shit.
Were you
Gotta be
nervous?
funny.
I feel like musicians always say that their worst nightmare is to do comedy. They're like, I can't believe you do stand up. And I'm like, you play in front of like thousands of people. I tell jokes in front of 3 people.
Yeah, it's still way harder though, because those 3 people I feel like are way more critical than when you go on stage and like start doing music. At least I feel like, because they expect laughs and you know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at the show though, you graced our audience with a song of yours, and I'm pretty sure as people were leaving, they were like, "Oh my God, Bohan Phoenix was fucking amazing." What happened before that part again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was for our sake, because you know, there's nothing worse than a comedian following a musician.
Yeah, seriously. Bringing the vibes down.
The
Vibes horrific.
down.
Not y'all. I got the vibes.
Yeah, but okay, you're a 3-timer, so 2 more times. I think we're racing against the clock here because you're blowing up now, and you know, any moment we're gonna get the Hollywood treatment from Bohan. We're gonna be like, "Yo, Bohan, you want to do the Feeling Asian podcast?" And be like,
Never that. I mean, for
Left on-
listeners,
left
just so
on
y'all
red.
know, just so the listeners know, I reached out to Yami and Brian for this
Wow.
episode right here.
"Wow, all right, listeners." Someone take a soundbite of that and just make a separate TikTok of
Before he blows up.
Such a big fan.
it. Yeah, turn that into an NFT because it's gonna be worth a lot someday.
Here we go.
But yeah, Bohan, we're so glad to have you on the pod again. And you know the drill. We're gonna ask each other how we're feeling. So, Youngman, you want to do us the honor? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I feel like sort of, I don't know, lost. I feel like I'm not doing enough, which I feel like is everyone feels like that, but then I'm just like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? It's fucking July. No one's even here. No one even cares. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, you know what I'm like really experiencing, and I know it's hard for me to like separate this part of my life because it's such a big part of my life, but because I'm so active on social media, and I feel like if I'm ever in a flop era, it really affects me, and it sounds so ridiculous, but like if I got a few like posts not doing so hot, I'm like, I'm a failure.
Are we talking, is there one platform more than others? Are we talking TikTok? Because right now everyone's in their flop era on Instagram.
Oh yeah, Instagram is so fucking weird. Yeah, I think, I mean, like Twitter is like, they're all different animals. I feel like TikTok, it's so easy to just like get numbers on there, so I don't really give a shit. But like, but also, I don't know. I'm like, you know, I always create content, but it's so interesting. Like, I'm having a hard time gauging what content I want to put out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas
yeah.
Yeah, like I used to just be like, I think I'm like careful because, you know, we always see comedians go through this, especially if they're super online. They like start by making a lot of jokes, then they get followings for telling jokes, and then they start getting fucking philosophical and like, this is what I fucking think about. And and I like catch myself doing that a lot, and I'm like trying to actively stop because obviously, like, I feel like I have a lot of interesting things to say or whatever, but I'm a comedian, and I don't want to be one of those comedians that are like doing like Twitter threads about what I think about, you know, like misogyny or something like that. So I've been trying to actively like stop myself from doing that and like really just try to turn every idea I have into an actual joke.
Yeah, that's a fucking hard thing. I mean, in my experience, it's often the content that I'm not the most happy about or I'm the most excited about that pops off. It's like I'm like, oh, this thing I created isn't the thing that makes me laugh the most, but for whatever reason, the public really fucks with this. And there's always like a fork where I'm like, okay, I guess I should just keep making this to appease what the people want because the numbers don't lie.
Never.
But you know, like you said, I mean, never. I think at the end of the day, it's just like, can I sleep well being a one trick pony and doing one thing only? And I don't think I would be able to.
Yeah, you got to find that sweet spot between like what you really want to say and people like it. Because sometimes you say what you want to say and nobody likes it, and then you try to do something that people like and you're not happy. You got to find the fucking sweet spot. It's rough.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least you're finding the sweet spot. I'm just putting out my shit, and no one's liking it, but I sleep well at night.
There you go. You're doing it for you.
Yeah.
The true artist, Brian Park.
Oh God.
Yes, I'm just thinking a lot about social media and how it's affecting my life. I'm also doing this like very cleansing thing where I'm eating healthy. I'm eating a lot of kale. I stopped drinking. I'm drinking a lot of water. I don't know if you saw my giant lemon water. And it's like completely changed my life. And I was like, oh, I wasn't depressed. I was just fucking dehydrated for 30 years.
I feel like this is a discovery that you make every 4 to 5 months on this podcast.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm depressed. It was dehydration again. Whoops. Every 4 months. You're right, Brian. Anyway, so that's how I'm feeling. It's kind of like all over the place. How are you feeling?
Yeah, right now, I have the stomach flu right now. So so right now I feel like, do you ever take like so much medicine that you feel kind of high? Like you're sort of just floating. I don't even know what's in my body. I had crazy stomach issues when I was in Mexico, so I bought all of these like random drugs there. But I have a lot left over, so I've just like been taking those with Advil and Pepto-Bismol. I don't even know what's in my body right now.
Brian, you're
that's a nice cocktail.
You're such a square that you're high on stomach medicine. Who the fuck?
That shit was from Mexico, bro. That shit was strong.
No, but
high
I've changed.
On Pepto-Bismol.
Yo, welcome to your 30s, man. I'm not even kidding. Like fucking A. When I was in my early 20s, I was at a rave and I would just take pills from random strangers. But now that I'm into my 30s, I'm taking a magnifying glass and reading those directions onto that fucking Pepto-Bismol. I'm being like, all right, can I take this many doses in 30 minutes?
We're like, Brian, are you okay? It's like, oh, I just took a little too much Pepto-Bismol. Feeling crazy.
Tipsy.
But yeah, right now I'm feeling all right. Like honestly, yesterday I was in the thick of it. I woke up this morning feeling kind of groggy, but you know, like right now I feel like I'm in it's like a sports game almost. Like I'm so tapped in that I'm ignoring what's going on, but I know that as soon as we stop recording that I'm gonna be running to the bathroom and who knows.
Oh God. Is it you look great.
You look energetic.
You're glowing.
It's that fucking Pepto-Bismol, man.
Wait, what kind of stomach virus is it like a poo-poo or a barfo or what, both, or what is it?
It's the poo-poo kind.
Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah.
I feel like as long as you don't have nausea and throwing up, like that's a different level of sick. Yeah.
Yeah. The both ends is tough.
Yeah, the DP. I guess it's the opposite of DP. DE. Double explosion.
DE.
Double expulsion.
Yeah, so I don't want to belabor this stomach talk, but
I feel like last time we were talking, did you have COVID or something? I feel last time we were talking.
Probably.
yo,
Maybe.
I remember,
I think we
not
both
even
did.
gonna lie, I woke up this morning, I was like, damn, I'm pretty sure I had COVID the last time we recorded with Bohan.
So funny.
Fuck,
Wait,
I don't want to
You did?
say I'm sick in front of Bohan because he's gonna think I'm a little weak, horrible immune system, little bitch. But here we are. But
Wait, well, that was a year and a half ago, so you can be sick twice in a
true.
year. Brian, what do you think was the? Oh wait, stomach flu,
Tolerable.
not food poisoning.
yeah, straight up with stomach, it's
Right.
stomach flu. Yeah, so as a little
Interesting.
parting gift to our listeners, if you're looking for a nice little midday buzz, chug some Pepto-Bismol, down it with some Sini
Ew.
Bacillus Forte, and you're good to go.
Oh, oh, that's
Forte.
spicy.
That's spicy. But how about you, Bohan? How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, but like Yummy said, I'm feeling a little lost
Yeah.
these days as well. And man, a lot of the things you touched on, Yummy, was just spot on in terms of creating content and then like putting it out, finally getting an idea, putting it out, and then like 3 people sees it, and you're just like, the fuck was that for? Like, and the whole time you're just stressing. You're like, like, what am I doing? Like the whole time you're just like, is this what I want? It's like you said, like, is this what I want to be doing? But it's working. Like,
Yeah.
I keep making this. I finally got myself into like a discipline to make some reels like consistently
Okay.
recently. And it's, like I'm finding these like sounds and putting stuff to it. And I'm just like, and it's getting people are liking it and stuff because I guess Instagram is pushing reels
Yeah.
these days. But then I just found myself like spending hours a day trying to come up with a reel.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, that's not what I want to
Yeah.
be doing. And and like just now, that was very I appreciate the hype up, the blowing up part. But that's like the opposite of how I feel these days.
Really?
I really feel like I've never been more uncertain and more unstable in my career than I felt in like the last few years.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really, a lot has happened since we last spoke for sure. And yeah, it's been a humbling time. And because like it's funny because I'm going everywhere right now, but the since we last spoke in last March, I signed a Warner China record deal. I did a couple NBA halftime shows, got some music and movies and Netflix movies and whatnot. So the optics from like my supporters and my family and friends, it's like kind of like what Brian said in the beginning. It's like, oh man, like Bohan's blowing up.
Yeah.
We about to, but like the reality of everything, like I signed a Warner China deal to trying to get into China to see my family because on my own, it's impossible as an American citizen. And, they tried to get me in good faith, but they couldn't. And now I'm stuck in like a really horrible record deal, like horrible, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like insane, like, and, but the only reason I signed it, if I go back to last year, would I sign it again? I would, because at that point, top of 2021, I was like, yeah, I think I can get into China. I think with Warner China's help, I can get into China. So I'm stuck with that. And then, the NBA shows, it's like the first one I did in LA, that was for the Lunar New Year's night. And then the second one I did in Brooklyn Nets was for the AAPI night. So like, they were seeking out like a Chinese face,
right.
Or like a face. Otherwise I wouldn't be there. And then on top of that, like, people don't understand that, these are such good opportunities that if I didn't want it because they didn't pay or they didn't pay enough, man, look at so many rappers that would have took that shit and like done that shit, you know? So on one hand, the optics is like, oh, Bohan's doing great. On another hand, you know, I just put out my debut album and I got no support from Warner whatsoever. We couldn't get a single blog to write about it.
Wow.
And you know, like, and I don't know if they're gonna be happy with me talking about this, but I don't care. The point is like, I feel like it's been a long journey and I've gotten to a place where I've done a lot of dope things, but I need direction and need to figure it out more than I ever felt before now.
You know, it's so interesting. I feel like, you know, we always talk about how as this podcast has grown, our guests, you know, like we've gotten guests that are further along in their career versus like when we were just starting out and everyone was kind of like at our level. And it's really interesting to hear the conversations now, because now we're talking to people like you who, you know, like you said, the perception from the outside is that you're very successful and you got this record deal and you have these like huge NBA shows, and then we're seeing the like behind the scenes of that, and it looks very different than the perception. And it's like really interesting because I feel like this is a conversation that a lot of our guests recently have been having. They're like, well, people think I'm doing great, but I'm not, and it's really hard and blah blah blah.
Where's
this
the kitty?
Is my cat. Here he is again.
What's the cat's name?
It means butthole.
It means butthole? I love it.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
I mean, do you think is part of it stem from, I guess, like, simple truth of it is just disappointment? Like, maybe like after you signed, like, you know, your new record deal with Warner, and then you find out like, what the fuck, they're not even, you know, pushing my album out to these blogs and getting these write-ups, and like you're having to do all the heavy lifting yourself. Like, is it that, like, I'm sure you had like an expectation for like, fuck yeah, like this is how it's gonna go, and then now that you're confronted with like, well, what the fuck, this is like, this is not what I signed up for. Do you think part of that's coming into play a little bit?
I think definitely. I think for me, over the years, I've always just preached about don't fucking sign record deals. You know, to homies or whenever I talk about it in interviews and stuff. So I found myself asking myself, how the fuck did I end up in this position? You know, like, I've always been a scrappy person. Like, in college, after college, I was selling weed, selling this and that to get by. You know, like, signing a record deal was the furthest thing I would ever want to do. But I think, you know, for me, family is such a strong part of my life, such a big part of my life. And you know, I grew up with my grandparents. Even though after I moved here, every year I'd go back at least 2 or 3 times and see my family. And so now it's been almost 3 years since I last seen my family. Yeah. So last year I was just feeling desperate, you know, and Warner China kind of like sensed that desperation, and I was like, if you sign with us, we can get you into China. So it's less so about like this, because I knew what I was signing up for, the terms and all that, you know, but if I could get back into China, like, it would have been worth it, you know, to put up with it, you know, but so now, now I'm stuck.
So you mean, let me just make sure I understand this correctly. You mean that you signed with Warner China, not so, I mean, I guess partially because you wanted to enter the Chinese music market, but also to physically enter China because it's so hard to go back there now, right?
So, so like a half and half, like, so I signed with Warner China to try to get back into China for sure. But the reason they were even interested in me in the first place is because from 2015 to 2019, I was already out in Asia and building and, you know, doing a lot of dope shit out there that caught their attention. And so they, and business wise for them, it made sense. It's like, oh, like Bohan not only can speak English, but in Chinese, like, he can work both sides, you know, like, so to them it made sense. But everyone just thought in good faith I was going to be able to get into China,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's no one's fault. And at the end of the day, you know, that the Chinese government was like, no visas for anybody,
Right.
you know. But yeah, I think it's disappointment of not being able to get into China, and then so when I don't have the most important thing to me, which is my family. Now the second most important thing to me in my music is being held hostage.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting.
Right. So like, you know, I mean, like, it's like, I don't remember what my mentality was going into the last podcast, but I feel like since then, like I've gotten to know y'all more, and like, it just, I feel like I want to just speak frankly, you know, like, so
please.
When Yummy was like, I feel lost, and I'm like, man, I feel lost as fuck, you know, like as hell, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting feeling. I actually am fascinated about the whole, because I know this is a little off topic, but can you actually talk about this? Because I don't think we've actually really talked about this on the podcast. China is still very much closed because of COVID. And I've seen a few TikToks about people that live in China and what their lives are, and it's like different states of lockdown basically. So can you talk about like the status of travel in China and like how that is? And you said you're an American citizen, right? So that's mainly why you can't go back.
Yeah. So just a little bit of context of that. I've always gone back to China on tourist visas, never need a family visa. Even when I was bringing back 4 or 5 of my homies from New York to tour like 8, 9 different cities in China in 2015, 2016, 2017, we were just on tourist visas. It was like easy in, out, no problem, you know? And the visa they were giving out was 10 years visas.
Oh.
So you paid $140 and you had a 10-year visa and you could be there for 6 months. It was like incredible, you know, super easy. And starting 2017, the Performance Bureau in China started to reject and started to deny foreign acts. So 2017 was when I first had a festival canceled based on the fact that I was an American performer. So starting in 2017, living in China, you feel this urgency that China is trying to get rid of foreigners. Whereas a decade before, they were like trying to open up. They're like, foreigners come in, you know? So in 2017, that's when it started. And I knew it was going to get bad, but I didn't know it was going to get like so bad. But it was exacerbated because of 1, COVID, and 2, the Trump presidency. And so at this point, even within China, for example, they just started giving out immediate family visas. So for example, my mom now can apply to go home and visit her dad. Whereas previously my grandfather needed the doctor to give like a note to say that he's like failing in order for my mom to go back and see him. So just now they're giving that type of visas out, but one-way economy ticket that's direct flight is over 10 grand US.
What?
Holy shit.
One way?
So that's one way, right? And then like the ones with the connecting flight, one way, it's about 8 grand, but it's about like a 45-hour journey.
Wow.
You know, and then you can, for the connecting ones, you can only go into Hong Kong first and then into China. But entering Hong Kong, you need to do 10 days there. And then once you get into China, you need to do another 2 weeks there. And then within China, if you're a foreigner, you travel from one city to another, you have to quarantine again. And even my family in Chengdu, like Chengdu is a big city, but like there's parts of it that's on lockdown, but parts of it that's not. You know, there's certain apartment complexes that have freedom, certain don't. And I'm sure a lot of people over the last year or so saw how crazy shit was in places like Shanghai, where, you know, cats and dogs were rounded up in trash bags and thrown on the sidewalk to like, it's definitely, even if I had gotten into China in the last year or so, it might have been some crazy experience that I probably would have had to endure.
Damn.
Wow.
That's fucking nuts. And it's like that's
Yeah,
I mean, fuck, man, I can't even imagine. Like, there's just so many things that are outside of your control that are like having this huge impact in your life.
Yeah, and on top of that, have we really, I was thinking, have we really felt the full impact on our mental from
No.
like the pandemic? Like no way.
No, not at all.
So it's like I find myself at a time where like, healing and like recalibration and readjusting is necessary and like probably the most priority, but I don't even have time for that. I'm like trying to figure out my life and income, like I'm out here on Indeed, like see if there's any jobs that I could like, help out with, and still maintain my creativity,
I feel like the impact of what's going on in China right now and the impact that has on Chinese Americans and Chinese people living abroad is such a huge issue. And like we could probably even have a whole episode talking about that and like have and just just think about like, it's been like you said 3 years, but for the people that live in China too, imagine like the fact that there are just no foreigners that come in anymore and travel is so heavily restricted, and I wonder what that's doing to everyone, like mentally, that's doing to people that live there and Chinese people abroad that can't go back to see their families. That is fucking fascinating.
Bro,
yeah.
10 grand for a one-way ticket. I mean, I thought it was weird that, I mean, I noticed that the Chinese international students aren't sporting as much Balenci these days, and it's all
damn, the Lambos. What
are the rich Chinese students gonna do? Can they still get into America to study? Probably.
I think the ones that's here, they're really enjoying a sense of freedom that their friends in China are not. Because they're still getting their allowances, but now they're on their own. And I've spoken to a lot of people that are either expats that moved back from China during this time and was like, thank God I'm out of there. And then I've also met like just recently I had somebody from Shanghai that was visiting the States, and I had a little birthday party. I turned 30 last week.
Let's
what I'm saying? I'm 30 unlocked. and like, even though he was Chinese, he was like, wow, like being out of China, it feels amazing, outside of that environment. Listen, if the CCP watches this, I'm never getting back in. So like whatever.
It's so that's so fascinating. My God, just like there's so. I mean, Chinese people are like such a huge part of this global society, and the fact that the travel is so restricted is like that's fucking fascinating.
Yeah. Well, the scary part is that even my family and friends in China are like, I don't know when. Like
damn.
Because like China is such an independent economy. Everything around the world is depending on shit that's made in China. Absolutely. So like if they choose to become just a sovereign nation again, which is what the rumor within China says, that the leader wants to do is to turn it into like a sovereign nation again.
Damn. So they'll be fine.
Well, I'm going to Korea next week. I'm going to Korea finally.
Jealous.
So let's see. Yeah. But I'm kind of scared because my first attempt at travel did not go well. So hopefully, I didn't know there's a visa requirement now. It's like I didn't make it on the first flight.
Damn.
It sucked. I was at the airport and everything.
Holy shit.
We'll see.
Wait, so you had always gone without visas, and then like you're like this time shouldn't be any different.
Yeah.
They just started doing a visa during COVID, and I didn't know. I have to say, this time I bought the tickets on Korean Air, and Korean Air has been so much better because last time I was trying to go on Air Canada, they didn't send me any information. Korean Air sent me like a week early. They sent me everything. They're like, make sure you do this. Make sure you do this. Yeah. And they like keep emailing me, so they're on top of it. Korean Air. Shout out.
They look out for their own.
Damn. Air Canada, on the other hand, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Sucks. Don't ever fly Air Canada. Ever. They suck.
Damn.
Hell yeah. When was the last time you were in Korea?
So I went like in 2019, right before COVID.
Right.
Or no, 20.
And you have family out there, or?
My parents live there. Yeah, so they haven't seen Mino. I was getting sad because I was looking at all the pictures of them hanging out with Mino. And he was so little in 2019. He's like a big kid now, so it's gonna be weird. Yeah.
You know, he's ginormous. He's like an Asian Baron Trump.
I love seeing that. Dude,
you know, he's like what, 9?
He has that attitude. I see it.
He's 8. He's like 6 foot tall.
He's 8. I've been measuring his height, and I put my sister and my mom. He's 1 inch shorter than my sister. He's 2 inches shorter than my mom right now.
Oh, he's coming
for them.
Crazy.
He's 8 years old.
Yeah.
He's the height of an Asian mom right now.
Nice.
That's a big milestone. I remember when I finally became taller than my mom. I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Fuck yeah!
What? You were like 7?
Yeah,
I was mad short for a long time. I was like 13. Yeah, when I was 12, I was 5'1".
Aww.
You're like 6
I'm
feet.
like 6'1".
What are you like? You're like, yeah.
That's so funny.
Damn. Well, you know, let's talk about your album, Bohan. Your debut album, Cities Are for Fools. So we did a little bit of Cities Are for Fools. It's a love letter to big cities and the consequences of chasing our dreams in them. And I think it's safe to say, up top on the pod, we got a little taste of the consequences of chasing our dreams in the big city.
Yeah.
Feeling lost.
Seriously. And not doing, and like we're feeling the consequences, but it doesn't seem like, you know, we're doing anything different about it. We're still doing what we're doing.
So is your album about like waiting a long time to eat at a restaurant? You know, the subway is crowded. You know, the sandwich costs $35. Is that what your album's about?
All of that. I mean, you know, like all jokes aside, but yeah, like that's all a big part of it. You know, like for example, there was so much pressure from my friends about turning 30. Like, oh, what are you gonna, like, where are you gonna have, you know, like, and I was like, yo, I'm broke.
Seriously.
Like, I'm like broke these days. I'm not trying to host a party for y'all, you know, like if anything, y'all should throw a party for me. Like, what the fuck, you know, like, and like, they were like, yeah, let's go out to this restaurant. Let's go drink some bars. And I'm like, and like, I found myself like simultaneously 2 thoughts. One is like, you know, how many times are you gonna turn 30? Like, it's not about society's pressure. Yeah. It's about, you know, just celebrating. And then the other side of me is like, damn, like these drinks are $20 each. What the fuck? Seriously. You know, like, so I'm like, man, what am I doing here? Like, you know, it's like Cities Are Fools. Like, all right, how does that relate to that exact moment? It's like, well, if I was in finance, I probably wouldn't have money problems. Right. So I was like, well, if I didn't live in New York, I probably wouldn't be paying $20 for a drink. Right. You know, so why am I not in finance and why am I in New York? It's like, oh, because I want to do what I want to do. Like, you know, it's like I'm a fool for thinking like, yeah, I can just live life doing what I want to do, you know, but.
Wait, you were buying the people drinks for your birthday?
Well, it's not buying people drinks for my birthday. It's like in the past, I've always had birthday parties and like I will invite all my close friends and homies and I will have people and I'll have, homies and everybody cook and stuff, but I would like buy the supplies.
Right. It's your party. I get it.
Yeah, like I'll go get like a couple big bottles of Henny so everybody's happy. You know, like, and I always loved it. I never like afterwards was like, damn, why'd I do that? Right. You know, but I don't know. For the first time ever, I was like, you know, rethinking about a lot of things.
Dude, this is so fucking real. Fuck. Just replace music with comedy, and that's where I'm at right now. I feel like I constantly exist between the state of I need to save money, and then I'm just like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna die anyway, so I am gonna pay $15 for this cold brew.
Crazy.
Yeah.
God damn, dude. So fucking real.
Well,
sorry,
go on, young me.
My last thing on that, like the expensive drinks, like my partner, they found a cute singlish bar called Singlish in Manhattan on TikTok, and you know we went and visited, and the drinks is $22 a drink, and I'm just like,
what the hell?
Yo,
$22 a drink. I will have one drink, and I will be here for hours.
God
damn. Have to milk this one
for the rest of the week.
I got dinner last night at this spot. Love the spot. Great music venue, good vibes. It's called Public Records. We got dinner there. It's a vegan menu. my friend got the most expensive entree on the menu, which was a $30 like entree thing, and it was tofu on wild rice.
No.
Wow.
Rice wasn't even cooked all the way.
I've seen Yummy cook better things.
Yeah, that's saying a lot.
Sorry.
Yo,
that sounds like something I will make when I'm starving and there's only one thing left in the fridge. I'm like, I'm gonna boil some tofu and rice.
Yo, well,
Dude.
you know, time to get that bag. Operate a fucking high-end vegan restaurant out of your kitchen now and charge $35 a pop for it.
You know what I think is so fascinating about this concept of living in a city as a creative, to be around like networking and stuff like that? It's like the classic, obviously, like, you know, all these generations of people did it. Like they would move to LA or New York or wherever your big city is. Fools. Yeah. But the interesting thing is, like, with the internet, a lot of people don't really have to do that anymore. And I find it really interesting, you know, like, right? Like you'll see, you know.
It's the most frustrating.
There'll be some musician like who just like records songs in his bedroom and he's like popping off on TikTok. Right. And it's like so interesting now that that's not the only option.
So that is a very awesome point you bring up about like just being able to do things remote.
Yeah.
But like, and I've thought about this, right? Because, you know, in this last 6 months, just exploring other stuff, I'm like, you know, instead of waiting on people to edit together like a flyer for me, I'm gonna download Photoshop and like learn how to do this on my own. And then like I downloaded Photoshop, Final Cut, you know, all these other things. And trying to like teach myself all the stuff that I would be allocating to other people.
Right.
You know? Okay, I just lost my train of thought.
Wait,
you were talking about like teaching yourself like Photoshop and this goes.
Wait, but why did I?
Oh, because I said that people live remotely and they just do stuff.
They're like popping off on TikTok.
Yes, right. So I was online, you know, I was like, I've seen all these social media jobs, you know, I was like, you know, I've done my own social media and gotten some pretty good press over the years. Let me see about these social media jobs. Maybe I can do remote. And all of them needs to be on location because you need to take photos of the staff. You need to have photos of, you know, them working in the office. And then I got to looking at, you know, kind of like we used to like bedroom producers or bedroom artists where like these perfectly syncable or perfect background music that just gets like millions of views, you know, once it gets up to the right playlist. And I think about that and I'm like, you know, oh man, I am envious of that in a way. But then I was like, okay, but would I do that? And I'm like, no, because I care about being around people.
The
and
stimulation.
I care about like the stimulation of it. You know? Like if my job was solely to crunch the numbers with my music, I wouldn't be doing music. You know, so I still find myself, and I can't tell if it's real or not. I still find myself at this world. So I was like, do I really love music? Yes, because I don't want to do anything else. But is that because I'm lazy, or is that because, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like this desire to explore other things, but then it's like once you do, are you giving up on what you do?
Right.
Or, you know,
I find that I have to be. Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, for me, I was just thinking about my career and how it's taken off, and for me, honestly, being in New York is a big reason why a lot of things happen for me, because I met this person and I met that person. It's weird. It's like you really need to be around these like shakers and movers, and you're around these people, and they are the ones that you run into, and that's like priceless. You can't, and that's like why people are here, you know.
I think even more so because things are remote and because things can be done online, you know, because then everybody's online and stuff, and then those, like you said, the in-person, in face-to-face opportunities
they don't get
becomes that much more valuable in building like a real connection instead of like, oh, we follow each other, you know, like. And
I'm a shitty stand-up comedian, but just because I do stand-up in New York City, I'm friends with all these like famous stand-up comedians. Just because like I was at the comedy club at the same time, and they're like, hey, it's Young Me, and I'm like, hey, you know, like that's. But you can't pay.
And you're also sharpening yourself against like the other sharpest swords, and
exactly.
And, you know, so, like if you were in the middle of nowhere, like, you might be the illest one in the middle of like Oberlin, Ohio.
Then you're just then you're Bon Iver, and it's
but
like,
you know what
fuck
I've
that.
seen? You know what I've seen that's so interesting though about that subject. A lot of times I'll be like at an open mic, and then somebody will come in and they'll be so funny, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just moved from Wisconsin. I'm a good, you know, I've been doing stand up. This is my dream, so I moved to New York City." And I'm like, "Oh, this person's really funny, but no one notices, and their careers don't go anywhere because they don't know anybody." And like they're not friends with the friends, which is unfair, but I've seen that happen so many times at open mics. I'm like, damn, this guy's fucking funny. Too bad he's not gonna make it.
Yo, but like fair or unfair, like the fact that we can recognize, oh, there's talented people and they're not going anywhere because it's not about
it's not just talent. It's not just talent.
Like, that's important. That's important to figure out and to face and to realize and kind of utilize, you know, because
there's all these
that delusion,
soft talents.
That delusion.
That people, yeah,
exactly. The delusion that your talent is going to take you like to the sky is so necessary, but you also need to like be able to snap out of that delusion.
That's such a great point.
You know?
It's the delusion. Like it's the delusion that brings people to New York and LA, and that's the delusion that's going to take you to the top. So like, I guess if you are just making beats in Oberlin, Ohio, but you still have that delusion, then you're going to make it. But that delusion is what's going to bring you. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it's going to bring you to these cities.
And also I've seen people that are very talented come here, like from a small town or whatever. And then they're very talented and that delusion is there. And then they're not getting shit fast enough because you got to like suck dicks and stuff, you know, you gotta fucking kiss ass and suck dicks, and they don't. And they're like, they don't get. Yeah, and they're like, they don't get it. They're just like, well, look at me, I'm very funny. Just give me the thing, and I'm like, you gotta suck some dicks, bro. I'm back here sucking. Come back here and suck some dicks.
No one owes you nothing unless you suck.
I'm not
dick.
funny, but I suck a mean dick.
You emphasize a lot of ass.
A lot of ass. You gotta kiss a lot of ass.
Eat a lot of ass.
So much ass.
Oh my god.
No, it's true. I you know, the other day I was looking through my phone for clips or whatever to make content, and like I saved this one audio from Rick Ross.
Nice.
Rick Ross had this audio. He was like, "Those that counted me out, they took an L." You know, like it's just like a really simple thing. But like I had seen somebody use the audio, and it's like, it was like he's like a basketball player, and it's like a footage of him in like middle school or high school, like shooting hoops, and then the next one is him at like at the NBA draft, so it's like a little quick contract. So I was digging through a bunch of my old shit, and I found the photos of me in the first like recording booth, which is like somebody's closet in like 2007. And I found that photo and I just sat there with it for a minute. I'm like, it's 2022. That was 2007. That's 15 years, like it's, and like 15 years, like if you told me in 2007, this is where I'm gonna be in 2020, like, even though right now, in reflection of all the things that I've done, and I still have a long way to go, but right now I'm reflecting. I'm like, I'm grateful. I'm happy for the things I've done, for where I am. But if I was 2007, you were like, oh yeah, in 2022, you'll be at where you are right now. I'd be like, nah, that's not worth it. You know what I mean? That's not worth it.
Oh my god.
I wouldn't have. There was no way for me to contextualize or quantify like the people that I had met, the experience, like the lessons that I've like, I don't know if y'all ever sit down and talk to, I don't know if y'all even have like really financial bros, like that are friends. No. But like I grew up with a bunch in high school that I still in touch with, and I went to one of their bachelor's party a couple months ago. And we were just talking, about, we got fucked up. We're talking about shit. And I'm just talking about like the ups and downs of my own career and stuff. And they're like, wow, this is your life is so like fast and interesting. And I'm like, is it? And then I realized, oh, maybe like, they still, maybe it's, even though they have so much more money and cars and house and stuff, their understanding of life is still very like premature in a way, you know, like
Yeah.
versus us who have sucked a lot of dicks and shit, you know, like
it's just
so
different.
many butts,
dude. You're like, I feel like we're
different.
going through the same shit because these are all the thoughts that are going on in my
100%.
head. It's like, I feel like our brains are hardwired in a way. Like maybe when, you know, it's like those Marvel sequences where you're like seeing like the fucking like the superpower coursing through the veins, and in our case it's like something short circuited and it's like, all right, this motherfucker is gonna be delusional and is gonna be an artist.
Like the graphics of the neurons firing.
But
in
this case it's like
it just stops.
It's like this person's not gonna be happy living just a blueprint regular life, so let's just set him out there. But you know, we wouldn't be happy doing that either.
That's
and I mean, maybe like after you get some shit out of your system, but you know, I think things are self-evident. Like we do the things that we do because we are who we are.
Yeah, and I think you know, if you do get to a point where you feel like, oh, I just need to change courses, then so be it. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, when you get there, like, and like I feel like one of the things I'm learning about life is that changes are going to come, and it's scary, and I'm gonna have to like just go with it.
Yeah. I think two thoughts on this. Number one, I think it ties into like what we were talking about in the beginning, how the perception is like, oh my God, Bohan, you're doing so well, and then you are actually living it, and you're like, this feels very different than what people are seeing. And then the other thing is, I think, you know, I don't know, do you feel like with your friends that are like in finance or like have more of like a quote unquote regular job, do you think that there's a part of them that like wants to live a life that's like yours, or no, or want to pursue their passion or something, or no?
I think that part is just as real as the part that like I wish I did finance.
100%.
But as like what I actually have done that, it's hard to say. You know,
so this is what I think about that. If there's so many people out there that do these other jobs because they're afraid to do like the creative jobs, right? And I think if you are living with any sort of failure or shortcoming in your creative career, it's kind of like empowering to know that this is what those people were so afraid of that they could never pursue this, and I'm just living it. Like as a comedian that's like not that successful, there's millions of people in the world that want to be a comedian, but they're so scared of living my life right now that they never even tried. So it's like me failing at this, I'm like empowered knowing that, oh, I'm living every day as someone that's like not achieved what I want to achieve in my career. But I'm doing it, and those people would never are too scared of my life to do it. So it's like, you know what I mean?
I think I agree. I think that's super empowering. But the real question is, just because someone else envies that, is that still what you want to do? And I'm talking about myself.
Well, for me, I don't care that people envy it or whatever. It's kind of I'm just like funny. It's just funny to me that, oh, you think my life is so bad that you're never gonna.
No, you're right.
It's a case.
That's funny.
It's a case by case basis, because I have a lot of finance friends, and you know I tell them about comedy and stuff, but then they're like, oh yeah, but like you're 30 and you have a roommate. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm just me. I'm just like, I never think about the other path. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna do this. So who cares?
Right. Well, okay. So like, I guess what I was saying was like, for me, when I started like falling in love with making music, I like didn't even speak fluent English. I didn't really have any like friends for more than like 3-4 years at that time. Like that idea of wanting to be a rapper, want to be famous, want to like tour the world was an idea that I developed when I was like 16 years old. And I had that delusion. I had the blinders to keep going, even through NYU, graduating, not getting a job, and sleeping on couches, whatever, to get to a point where I got to. And now here I am, and I feel really proud of everything that I've done.
Right.
But I'm asking myself, after experiencing so much life and so much other pleasures, like I love reading now. When I was younger, I didn't like reading, you know, like after experience, I'm like, have my goals changed? You know, like, and if so, is that like a scary thing to tell myself? If so, like, is like everything that I've done in the past 15 years to waste, you know? Like,
I don't think so. And honestly, yo, you're
no one knows.
but
That's
like, this
that's
is
the
my
thing.
2 cents, because we're
Yeah.
like, I'm on the exact same wavelength here at this exact same intersection. And I think it takes a lot of courage and strength to like be honest with yourself and recognize that, you know, just as we talk about how like the world can suddenly change, we as human beings, we adapt and we come out differently too. And our goals change. Nothing's the same, you know. For a lot of people, like, sure, you're 16, you want to do this thing that stays forever, but that's not everyone. Like, you're changing, and I think that it takes it's admirable that you can admit that to yourself. And I don't think you should feel like anything's a waste, because that was like always within you. Like, if you had gone into finance when you were like 20, you're still gonna have those rapper ambitions. But I see it more as like, you know, you experienced such great things, you attained a high level, and if you wanted to switch it up, then fuck yeah, switch it up. Like that, we see it all the time. Like, I think, you know, J.R. Smith, like, he's like a you know, professional basketball player. He won a ring, and now he's like, I want to go back to school and I want to play golf. So he's like back in school in his 30s, and he's like playing golf, you know? Like,
No, it's 100%. I do think that there is like a couple weeks ago, I went and did a 3-hour jewelry making class.
Nice.
You know, where I sat down.
That sounds like something Brian would do.
Out.
That's awesome.
I'm into carpentry.
Awesome. I sat there after 3 hours. I was like, I could see I would love to have a little workshop and just saw away at this little piece of metal, and like, I would love to do that, you know, like, and I would love to be at where J.R. Smith is and be successful to a point where I have like fuck you money, and be like, now I'm going to explore all these other things, you know. But it's like I find myself having those interests, but not having the financial means, and that's the only reason that's making me unsure about it. You know, I'm like, am I changing this because I'm not where I am financially, and like I'm worried about, you know, getting to a certain age and like not having all that.
I'm the same way. I mean, it's the same thing.
Know.
It's the financial security aspect, and
then it comes back, and then you're like, well, in my early 20s, I wouldn't have thought about this. I didn't overthink.
Bro,
I didn't overthink it.
This is too fucking real, man. God damn it, Bohan. No, but like, it's a circular thing, you know, and then you'll do like one hot show and you're like, fuck yeah, this is what it's all about. This is why I do it.
That's exactly it. That's why October 9th at Baby's Alright is going to be a great night, because that's the album release show.
Yo.
I have to say, I did see it. Once I was at a restaurant and there was a man sitting like at the next table, and he had like a tennis necklace of diamonds.
Yo.
And it was like 20 feet long. And I was like, what? That is like, is that real? And then the waiter was like, that's my cousin. He owns a jewelry shop. It's 100% real. I was like,
there you go.
How much is that? It's like a $10 million diamond neck. Damn, that could be you, Bohan.
Yo, you want to? Okay, no, here, let me tell you a story about a diamond necklace. So I found myself going through many phases of being a rapper. You know, like these days I don't wear like anything. You know, like my girlfriend made me this friendship bracelet.
It's cute.
Anyways, I found myself like doing open mics while I was sleeping on couches and thinking like, man, if I could just sell out like a venue in Brooklyn, that would be great. And I get to a point where I sell like a couple hundred tickets. And I'm like, man, if I can get to a point where I get on TV, that would be great. I did that. NBA, whatever, you know? And every time I hit it, I'm like, this isn't what I thought I was going to feel like, you know? Like, and it's just, I forgot why I brought that up again. Yes, the diamond necklace story. So this was the phase where I was doing a lot of shows in Asia and surrounded by like rappers like Higher Brothers, Jay Park, and people, you know, that was from the East, but their entire music education was through the internet and was through, you know, what's hot out here. So whereas for me, like I kind of like was more like over here and seeing the reality of like what it's like to be an artist, right? Like, but in China and Asia, if you look the part, you have a better chance of getting the job than if you actually sounded the part.
Right.
So you know, there was about like 2017, 2018. I was like, man, I really need to keep up with these rappers out here, you know, like, and later I found out that 75 to 80% of their jewelry is fake, but like based on 20% of it being real, people just assume the rest of it is real. So I had, you know, so this is a really poppin' jeweler in Chinatown named Tommy. And Tommy Jewels is like this Cantonese guy, but his shop is called Aura Latina, and like, you know, they speak fluent Spanish, you know, and all that. And but he's a little pricey, so every time I went, he would knock me over the head. And but like I love going there because everybody loves him and I love him.
Yeah.
But then I eventually found this other jeweler, and this other jeweler, he was trying to do more business with like rappers, but people didn't really know him. So I was like, yo, I like that tennis necklace you have. And it's real small diamonds, you know, but it kind of was nice, you know. I was like, how much is that? I was like, oh, that's $4,000. I was like, damn. I was like, look, how about you let me put down like a down payment, and then every month I Venmo you like a couple $100 or something, you know, but like I'll shout you out and stuff. He goes, okay, yeah, we'll do that. So I think I left like $500, took the chain, went to Asia, went on tour, and I was like Venmoing him a couple $100 every month or something. And then like I come back from Asia and I'm like over that phase, you know, and now I'm still trying to pay off the rest of this fucking tennis chain, you know. So I hit up dude, I was like, yo man, like, is there any way I can give you this back and you just like give me all the money that I've been sending you, and I'll take you out to like a dinner or something, like. And he was like, you know, I think he understood where I was coming. He probably knew like I wasn't acting my wage. That was the thing he told me after. You got to act. Yeah. You know, like.
It had too much power in it. So, it was too,
Yeah, it blinded me. And so, yeah, eventually I gave it back to him. He gave me the money back. And that was the last time that I spent money on jewelry like that.
Like, isn't that there's like power.
Ideas now.
There's power in stuff like that, jewelry. And you could, sometimes it sucks your energy out from you.
No, it's so dumb until you're walking around and you have like $20,000 of jewelry on you. You're like, what is this unidentifiable like feeling?
It's weird. Like once I had a Birkin. I've talked about this on the podcast, and I had to sell it. It had evil energy. It was like when I was holding, I could feel the pulsing of the energy. It's too powerful.
You know, I don't know if you're joking right now.
I'm 100% serious.
Right. Okay. Because like I feel that way. I feel that way about, like, for example, like during that same time, I bought like a Rolex on what do you call it when you pay monthly with their
like
credit
just
card?
Like
on a payment plan.
Installments. Yeah. So it was like a $4,500 watch that I paid off in 3 years, you know. But when I wear that, I feel different. I feel like sometimes I'm ashamed to wear it because I'm like, I don't want to walk around. People think like, what type of person, you know, like. And then other times I'm like, I feel like, yeah, you know, I earned this, you know, like this is like a symbol of all the hard work I did.
Yeah, a lot of psychology behind it.
But it has a
power. Well, the Birkin,
power,
I feel like at times I felt uncomfortable, and at one point I was like, fuck it, and I was like taking it to the beach and shit. And then I was like, this is stupid. It like wore off on me or something.
But that's when you kind of like take the power.
Yeah. I think you have to build.
I'm not gonna do this for a nice event. Fucking occasion.
I think the power of those items, it has like, there's like a social power it has too, and once you overcome that, because like when you go out, people are like, they're like, oh, what's this person? They have a Rolex. Is it fake? Is it real? Is it? Are they? You know? And then there's all the psychology behind it. And one day you like coast over it, and that's when you sell it because it doesn't have any power over you anymore.
Yeah, I bought a chain 4 months ago. Since I'm fully drinking the power. Since then, I've been wearing wife beaters. I'm drinking
Nice.
Pepto Bismol and chugging it down with Simi Bacilos
You're
Forte.
talking differently.
Fuck it, bro.
You curse a little bit more.
Fuck it, man.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. Well, we were gonna ask you about NFTs, but fuck
Yeah.
that. I don't want to talk about NFTs anymore.
Wait. Okay, but I want to say a little
it
bit.
does
You kind of want to talk
like,
about it?
Can I,
Well, it's related.
yeah, I mean, just because you brought it up a little
Yeah.
bit earlier, I just wanted to. I do want to, like, share some, like, just a couple quick thoughts on it. You know,
All right.
like, I totally got into NFTs because I was at a bad financial situation, and I was like, this looks like a get rich quick scheme,
Okay.
and I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like, so that's what got me into looking at NFTs. But as soon as I started looking into it, I was like, holy shit, like this looks like .com era. Like anybody with a website was getting, you know, money, and it looked like it was gonna be the shit,
Yeah.
right? Like, but there's a whole big side of the music NFT shit. And that's the part that sucked me in a lot.
Oh.
And I thought there was like an exclusive way to, like there's this company called Royal, and I can basically, instead of selling record label my rights, I can sell it to my fans. And every time my song on Spotify makes money, all my fans will own a part of that song, make the money with me.
Okay.
You know, so I was like, man, you know, and it was by this company called Royal. I was like, oh man, this is dope. And I was hitting him up. I was like, yo, how did y'all develop the technology? Because for me to get paid for myself for my own songs on Spotify, I have to wait like 5 months to see like some of those pennies.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm like, how did y'all develop the technology to pay everybody, you know, at the same time? They're like, oh yeah, we're doing it manually. We're collecting the money. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're far away still. Anyway, so that's
interesting. What an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the reason why we wanted to ask about NFTs is that if we saw your little Twitter profile picture out of NFT.
Oh yeah,
and,
the doodles.
You know, it's a polarizing subject. It's very divided, but we wanted to come at it from, you know, an artist perspective, and whether it's been like helpful.
I don't think I'm doing the right thing all the time. So
yeah, who knows?
You know, like there's if like NFT is bad for the environment and all that, then I'm a part of that problem. But I hope that like eventually enough people get involved in it that there's brains that can solve it, because I do feel like the ways to solve it is having more people getting involved.
Totally.
Understanding it more.
I think the blockchain technology that powers NFT is huge potential for it, but it's so cloudy and muddled right now because there's so many
a lot of
there's so many
fugazi
sharks
right
who are just trying to make a quick buck. And you know, they're
I've lost money jumping into projects thinking like, oh, like I'm not making that much money from music right now, maybe I can make some side income from this. And then there's people that take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
wait.
Cool. So we're gonna hit you with some Patreon questions, Bohan.
Oh, wait.
You feeling good? All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, listeners. So you know the drill. We got to give you a little reminder. The best way to support this podcast is on Patreon at patreon.com/feelingasian. And we're going to hit Bohan with some questions that you're going to have to subscribe to hear what his thoughts are. And, you know, we're going to ask you what you're loving right now, what you're hating, what you're ashamed of, and get deeper into the feelings here. So Bohan, what is something you're loving right now?
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, you know, Bohan.
Yeah.
We got real on this pod.
Real.
You got way more real than I was expecting. But that's how it goes usually when we have these conversations with you. But you know the drill. We like to leave our guests with this one last question, and that is, what is something you're proud of, Bohan?
I'm proud of how all of us and all of my friends and are dealing through it. Because honestly, like a lot of people in my life are going through it right now, and I'm proud that we're able to communicate that to each other and not feel judged by our friends. And it feels a lot better to like talk it out and get these feelings out there. So I'm proud of us for doing that.
Oh.
Well, I'm proud of us all for keep going for it. And also sharing our feelings. Living the life that finance bros are afraid to live.
Facts.
I don't want to be a failure. I'm like,
Can't
oh God,
walk in these shoes. Brendan.
Try walking in these shoes. You make a reel and it only gets 800 views. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know how... That's my life.
Well, Bohan, it's the plug corner now. Shout it out. Where can our listeners stream your new album? Tickets for your upcoming show?
That's right. So, new album, Cities Are for Fools. You can stream it on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, all of that. And for those in New York, the album release show is Baby's All Right in Brooklyn on October 9th. That's a Sunday, because I don't want to compete with Friday and Saturday crowds. And I know people got work the next day too. So Sunday 6 to 9, it'll be an early show. But
nice.
I
like it.
That's more my speed.
See? Yeah, see, I know my
We're
audience.
in our 30s now.
Fuck yeah. Where can our listeners find you on socials?
Social media is just across the board. Bohan Phoenix. I am trying out TikTok, so check me out on Life of Bohan on TikTok. And
let's go.
And yeah, that's it. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here, Bohan. And what about you, Young Me?
You can find me out on socials at YM Mayer or Young Me Mayer on TikTok. How about you, Brian?
You guys can find me on socials at It's Brian Park. Follow our podcast at Feeling Asian Podcast. And check out our Patreon at patreon.com/feelingasian. And that's it, y'all. Bohan, thank you again for doing it.
Thank y'all.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
see you all here next week.
Bye.
Peace.
See you guys.